Did you ever see the movie Hancock where Will Smith was an ill-tempered, mean, rebellious superhero and Jason Bateman came along to help transform his life by becoming his marketing representative guru? Jason Bateman would be giving him some advice like, hey, you need to wear a different outfit. You actually need to say nice things to people, and you need to say things like, good job. You're like, come on, Will, practice with me. Good job. And Will Smith standing there, and his first encounter, and the police show up, and they're trying to help. And Will Smith, even though he did everything, as the superhero Hancock, even though he's standing there, he had trouble saying good job. He's like, good job. He struggled to say good job because it's not something he had never done before. Well, when it comes to parents and raising kids, I am surprised at how many parents out there cannot say the word no. You need to practice this. Just pretend I'm your life coach here for a second, and I'm giving you the most valuable piece of information you've ever had. When your children come up and ask you for something ridiculous, you need to practice saying no. And when they ask for something out of timing, you say no. And when they ask for something that's bad, you say no. And when they come at you again and again and again, you say no. You see, your children are looking for the guidelines of life. They want to know what works and what does not work. And a lot of times, they are actually not just looking for guidelines, but they're also searching for their identity. So take these two extreme examples for a minute. Let's imagine that your daughter comes down and she says, I want to shave my head. Instead of getting into a grand philosophical debate with her where there's ups and downs, all this kind of stuff, just say no. If your son comes down and he's got rainbow earrings on, you say no. It's not because I am against you, but it's because you are crying out for help. You're crying out for identity points, and you are begging your parents to help you get a grasp on who you are. Now, there's a lot more goes into it than this, obviously, but Christian parents need to understand how to say the word no. Absolutely. That's not up for debate. No. No, we're obviously not going to be mean. I personally, as a parent, I try to do my best to explain it. But even at the end of the day, I am the parent for whatever reason on God's earth. God thought that I knew better than my children would know. And he gave me, a 20-year head start, 25-year head start on my kids. I should know a little more than they do. And I should be very well acquainted with the things that we should say no to. So parents absolutely need to say no. A lot of parents don't want to. They're like, I love my kids. I want to please my kids. I want my kids to like me. For those of us who have mastered this word, my kids love me. And I know that my kids love me more than those that always said yes, because the parent didn't provide clear guidelines and boundaries for the children. So my children have heard a ton of no's. They've heard no right and left. And they actually, even though they're not liking of it in the moment, they will come back later and like, Dad, thank you for taking me through some hard things. And, I had to accept some things. And, I didn't like that, but wow, that is the best thing. It's amazing what a few years of maturity can do for one in their comprehension and understanding things that can't always be explained to a young mind. So you have to practice saying no. There has to be some absolute no's thrown in. Now, here's something for the Christians to really, really think about. Babies, no matter how sweet they they have an infection, and it's called the sin nature. And babies are going to grow in their sin nature. Oh yeah, they're going to grow into wicked little beings. That's one reason why God gave you to them as their parent, was to help guide them and help them guide them in a good fashion. So if you don't guide them with the proper yeses and nos of life, then they're unguided and they're going to grow into wicked little demons. That is what babies do. That's what baby humans do that are left unattended. They lean towards sin and wickedness. So when we do not tell them no, then we allow them to say yes to their flesh. So if a child is wanting, if he's wanting candy, I gotta have candy. I gotta hear you like, well, I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to say no. It might hurt his feelings. Okay, you can have some candy. And he's in the flesh. He's, whoa, candy. And then later on, he's like, oh, I want to go. I want to spend money because it feels like candy. And you're like, well, I don't want to disappoint my kids, so I'm going to give them some money to spend. And the next thing I know, it's like, oh, drugs, man, they make people feel amazing. They make people feel amazing. And by that point, we have allowed them to establish the yes pattern for what they want and crave without ever learning the disciplined nature of saying no. And so we have taught them to say yes to the flesh, and the flesh is going to say yes to horrible, disastrous sin. It just is. This is the way it works. So as a parent, you need to practice saying the word no and saying it with authority and being unbending upon it. Now, I would caution that as your children get older, that you think about what they are asking before you say no, because you need to be consistent. You need to be reliable. The children need to be able to love you and lean upon you and think that you're consistent. So hear them before you say no. But if you considered it and that's a bad thing, you need to tell them no and leave it at that.